Hello everybody, today we're going to talk about some very dark topics. I've already tried covering these and I've since disabled the video because it was a bit dark. So if you're depressed, if you're lonely, in debt, feeling suicidal, don't see your way out, this is the video for you. I'm going to tell you how to get out of that hole you're in. First of all, let me just explain my situation, my old situation, just 2 years ago. I didn't lose that. My wife and I split. The family who I'd cared for 30 years, the people I was a carer for, gave up on me. They turned their back on me. I fully expected to have their support and I got none of it. So I had no help whatsoever. I split with my ex and I thought I'll just move in with a friend, get a job, get a flat. Job's a good one. Trouble is, Boris Johnson had locked the country down. And even the government departments this country needed to run were shut down. So my documents were needing updating, were on the DVLA desk, proving that I was who I said it was, so I could get my photo ID updated. And it stayed there for 4 months. I couldn't rent a house or get a job without those documents. I was homeless for 4 months. I was homeless, I was abandoned by those closest to me, I was getting no help. Now that's the situation I was in. I was in a very dark place. On top of that, at the time I was helping my daughter, who was also in a very dark place. And she had a nasty habit of doing things that were extremely dangerous, like having live wires on quilts and smoking in bed. And whilst seizing, she'd sit in the bath and I'm thinking, what if you drowned? And it drove me nuts. It really affected my mental state, all of this. It made me worry sick. I was probably a little bit overprotective, but it did scare me, and that added to the pain that I was feeling at the time. Because being a carer is a stressful job at the best of times, and I was dealing with that, and everything else, and so it suddenly all came to an end. My life came to an end when me and my ex split, and it all went south. So yeah, I know what it's like. I've had a lot of things happen to me. And one of the most important battles I've faced initially, and this is the one you need to think about, is being true to yourself. Every single one of those people let me down. I could have gone, right, revenge, and I'd get every one of them back. I didn't. That would have been letting them turn me into that person. And I refused to let them turn me into that person. I wanted to wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and say, yep, I recognise that person, that is me. Right? I didn't want to be something I'd barely recognise because I'd let the actions of others affect who I was. The other thing is, people will sometimes want to say nasty things about you and, and basically try and destroy your character. But here's the thing, right? What if you hadn't embraced their version of you? What if you hadn't done what they said you'd done? What if you weren't the person, you didn't turn into the person they tried to make you into? What if you stayed true to yourself? Have a think. You'd walk around life being yourself. You'd be guilty of being yourself, but that would be all you'd be guilty of. People would look at you, they'd hear what was said about you and go, what, him? He did that? No, I don't believe it. That person there is nothing like what you're describing. You must be a liar. And the people who say the bad things about you will look very bad. And all you have to do is be true to yourself. And they will look like liars. And you will be guilty of just being yourself. You don't need to defend yourself. You just need to be yourself. And the added advantage of that is when you wake up in the morning, you can recognise a person in the mirror. It's much easier for you to live with. You can live with that. When you don't recognise a person in the mirror, that's when you've got a mental health issue. So yeah. Another thing is, if you're nice to people, people very rarely regret being nice to people, but they do regret being angry with people and being, nasty to people. It bothers normal people, it bothers them for quite some time. So if you want to avoid feeling bad, don't be bad to other people. Be nice to other people, even when you don't feel like it, because you will never regret that. So your interactions with others, don't let your dark mood spill over into how you greet other people. Right? So this is all about you, recognising who you are, avoiding the pain that comes afterwards. Remember as well, some people are toxic and they make you feel bad. You need to get them out of your life. So we've got yourself. Rule number one, be yourself. Don't be the person others want you to be. Two, right? You've got to get through to the next morning. It doesn't matter how you do it, you've got to get through to the next morning. This is vitally important, right? This is you buying yourself time every single day to make small improvements in your life. Now, you're not going to get a magic pill that takes you out of everything, rescues you. It's not going to happen. You have to be patient. You have to suffer that pain. It's a bit like carrying a ton weight on your back every single day until one day you can carry that weight easily, right? And it's no longer a problem. But until then, that weight is crushing you. And it's very much like that. You will eventually be able to carry that weight. But until then, you have to get to the next morning. Now, the weight could be anything. It could be whatever problems you're facing you, right? But understand the analogy is the same. Now, this extra time, use it to think, how you can improve your situation, what you need to do. Identify the problem. Think of all the things that work and what don't work. And then go with what does. No matter how long it takes, go with it. This will give you hope. When you have a victory, you grab onto it. You celebrate even small victories. You celebrate those victories. Every little thread, you grab it with both hands. This is how you pull yourself out, because every little thread might only last a short time, then it snaps. But it'll drag you a little bit further out of that hole each time. If you've got friends, now is the time to call them and ask for help. You might not have done it in the past. I never did it in the past. When I was at my lowest point and I had no income, no help from anybody, other than a daughter who eventually booted me out, says, I called out to my friends, I need help. I've got no income, I can't do anything till I get my documents back, I need to raise some money, will you help? And I started a fundraiser on Facebook, not once but twice. And twice I hit my goal within 12 hours of asking. Because my reputation up to that point was such that people had received help from me and now were pleased to try and help me back. More distant family jumped in. People who were actually unemployed and living in other countries sent money to help me. It's very humbling. It is very humbling to receive that kind of help from people you never expected the help from. Because remember, the closest people to me, my immediate family, let me down. The more distant family and friends, they're the ones that help me. I still, to this day, play a song called With a Little Help from My Friends in memory of the help I received from them people. It's my way of showing them and the people on Facebook that I still remember what they did for me, even now, almost 2 years later. And I will always remember it. You do not forget, when people do that for you, when you're in that much of a desperate situation. Just as you don't forget who put you there, you don't forget who helped you out. So when you're in that hole and you're creeping up day by day, each day you'll feel a little bit better. And each little victory, like asking for help and getting it, that's a victory. Getting to the next morning, that's a victory. All these little things you've got to grasp onto these and think, yeah, this is a positive, right? And avoid the negatives. In a way, what you're trying to do is you're trying to control your own negativity. If you're, for instance, going over scenarios in your head, you're walking down the street going, what if they said this? What if they said that? What if I did this? What if I didn't pay that back? Right? That's negative. That's a mental health issue waiting to happen or already happening. You think of it, by the time you get to the end of your walk, you're angry, you're depressed, you're suicidal. So why do it? Stop that. Just stop doing that. If you've lost somebody, a loved one, you think of all the happy times you had with them instead of the negative times. Because if you're thinking of the negative, it'll depress you thinking about them. You'll think about the positive, and you'll say to your friend, you remember when my mum said this to us one Christmas? Wasn't that funny? What a silly person she was. Right? And suddenly you're laughing about it. You have happy memories. These people become comforts to you. It's something you can draw upon and keep in your heart. And this is how you've got to go through life. You've got to think of things in a positive light. Now, I wish that was true for every person you'd have in your life, but it won't be. Sometimes people would have said and done things you just can't forgive, right? And it's hard with them. I won't make any bones about it. It's hard. That's burdens you're going to have to live with unless you can find a way of letting it go. But all of little tips allow you to release these burdens. And every time you do, it's like a balloon, filling up and lifting you higher into the stratosphere. One day, you're going to be climbing out that dark hole and you're going to reach up and you're going to feel the sun on your hand. And if you've got friends there waiting for you, you'll feel their grip on your wrist and they will pull you out into the sunlight. And you'll start feeling good. And the first thing you'll feel good about is you made it to the end of that dark journey. You were strong enough to get to the end. And then one day you'll see a hole in front of you and you'll hear a voice from the bottom of the well. And it'll be another person in the same position you were in. And you will save that person's life. You will be the friend they needed at their worst time. And they will never forget it. Just as I've never forgotten those that helped me, you will never be forgotten. You will save their life and they will be indebted to you forever. And that, again, knowing you are strong enough to climb out yourself, combined with the fact that you've helped others in similar situations, will be the start of your new life. The character you build for yourself. You become a positive person to be around. And you'll be proud of who you become. But it won't be easy. And you will have to fight every step of the way. But nothing good is easy. We all have to go through the mill, so to speak, to come out the other side. Anyway, start now, right? Get through to the next morning. Be true to yourself. There's no expiry date for when you start. You can start any time you like. Be true to yourself. Something you can live with, something you can be without any effort. Be that person. And I promise you, you will improve. But don't set your standards too high, because remember, high standards are harder to achieve when you're crawling in the gutter. Set low standards at first and build them up over time. See you in the next one.